Hello, hello. All right.
It's all right. How you doing?
Good. You're kind of
Bring it up. So
yeah, it's not 100% the audio on your computer, but it's okay.
Gurgly. I'm putting you
Yeah.
guys live also inside of Facebook.
Let's do it. Let me see, make sure I have the ability to share. No, not yet. So you can either make me a co-host or just give me the ability to share, and then I'll be good to go. All right. It's gonna be a fun topic today. We're gonna talk about common buyer objections and how to handle them. Should be fun. All right, let me and yeah, I can share my screen also. All right, it is 2:01 o'clock. Let's get this party started. All right, before I do, anybody have any special questions, comments, concerns, issues? Anything I should know about, talk about, spend more time on? Make sure I got the no, just do my thing. Okay, awesome. All right, let me make sure.
Ron, have you seen any changes to the market in the buyer market in the last week or so?
Oh yeah, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
It's becoming an even stronger seller's market, which makes it a little bit more difficult, challenging on the buyer side. Why? Well, you have more competition, you have less supply, more demand equals headache, especially if you're working with buyers, right?
Yeah.
So there's different strategies you can go about it. Preparing them is always the best way to improve your conversion when we're talking about these type of situations. Preparing them for what's about to come, what they're walking into, buying process, market conditions, multiple offers, strengthening offers in multiple offer situations. We can definitely talk about it more. We're doing a mastermind next week on Thursday, so and then one of the future classes is going to be how to increase your conversion with in multiple offer situations, how to obtain. So
Awesome.
we can definitely talk about that more next week. And it's fun. You expect to run into those situations. It doesn't matter where you are. I don't care what town you're in. I don't care what price range you're in. The market conditions are very low inventory and very high demand in any price range in any town. It doesn't matter where you go. So expect multiple offers. Expect to submit several offers to get one accepted offer, and just keep working it. It's there's still transactions being done. There's still business being done. The only way to get a piece of it is just to keep working.
Absolutely. And maybe if there's some creative ways of where they can find inventory, if it's not readily available on MLS, where are you finding maybe some inventory? Is it connecting to agents? Is it having off-market properties? That might be something beneficial. However, I did just give you host. Maybe somebody like even Spencer, maybe Spencer, you could assign him to be co-host.
Sure.
Then he can let people in. Spencer, when you see people coming, just admit them into the room so that Ron can focus on the material.
Let me stop sharing for a second.
Okay.
And let's get Spencer. Where are you, buddy? Here we go. Let's make you a co-host. Do you want to make Spencer the co-host? Yes, I do. All right, buddy.
Okay, happy learning.
Thank you. So Spencer, if you see anybody that wants to get in, make sure you charge them. And if somebody puts something in the chat, let me know, because I don't always look at the chat. Not very good at multitasking. So you'll be my right hand for today. Let's get this presentation going. Here we go. All right. Let's get into it. Let's have some fun. All right, slideshow begin. Yes, no, maybe. Here we go. All right, let's get into it. All right, start off with a quote. Let's go. It's a Francis Bacon quote. Who questions much shall learn much and retain much. I like it because in our line of work, in our occupation known as real estate agents, the greatest strength that we have as an agent comes from asking questions. Don't ask the question, won't get the answer. So ask questions. It'll definitely benefit you. It'll benefit your clients. and it'll get you to push forward. Let's get into it. So when we're talking about objections in general, and handling those objections, there are some very, very beneficial, advantageous ways to get at it, to make sure we have the ability to handle those objections. Pre-qualifying is always a great tool. It may sound simple enough, yet most agents probably don't do it as often as they should. If you do pre-qualify, you'll know their motivation, you'll know what they're looking for, and then you won't have any issues, any surprises moving forward. So pre-qualifying is just a simple way to do it. Pre-qualification script, regardless of what avenue you meet the buyer, whether it be an open house or referral, sign call, internet lead, whatever it may be, you're going to use the same pre-qualification script. It's going to go a long way. You want to discover the motivation. I find that for sellers, agents will definitely, the majority of the time, ask them what their motivation is. Why are you selling? Why are you moving? Yet on the buyer agent side, your traditional agent, I found, is not asking their buyers why they're buying. They kind of forget to do that on the buying side. It's a pretty common, I think, error on the agent side, only because if we don't discover their motivation, then we don't know how much time, energy, and even money sometimes to invest in them, and how we should be following up with them, and how, especially in today's market, if they're going on a month to month, but they're waiting for that perfect home, or they're waiting for the deal, that's not a 10. It's not an A buyer. So definitely discover the motivation. It'll go a long way for us as agents. Buyer consultations, it's probably the best tool to help improve conversion. The buyer consultation, one of the benefits of a buyer consultation is it does give us the ability to handle 90% of the objections up front before they even show up. And we're going to talk about specific common objections moving forward, but these are just tools to help us improve the likelihood that we get less objections moving forward, or we have the ability to handle them moving forward. So buyer consultation, we did a little bit of that last week, and we know that it's a great tool to help us improve our conversion with buyers, with anything. And of course, improving your skill always goes a long way. That'll definitely help us handle many, many objections. And when we say preparation, I don't necessarily mean preparing the buyer. The buyer consultation is great for preparing buyers. And when we have the ability to tell the buyer, this is what happens next, it definitely improves our conversion. Yet I mean us. See, the way we improve our skill is if we prepare for the opportunity, which means also internalizing scripts. So it's very short, simple scripts for the most part, yet I think many agents just don't take the time to internalize, to memorize, to make it their own, to implement it in their day-to-day. And then that's when we have trouble and difficulty and obstacles with handling common buyer objections. So let's prepare for those opportunities, unless you want to improve the likelihood they become missed opportunities. Let's not do that. So let's get into the examples. Any thoughts, comments before I move on to the next slide? No? Awesome.
Ron, I have a quick question.
Sure, ask away.
I have a buyer who is first time looking in New Jersey. She is confused between, area between Chatham area and between Gloucester, two different areas, and she doesn't know. So how do I, we haven't done buyer consultation, anything. So how do I make her understand that she has to choose one area? You cannot go back and forth so far away. And she wants to do a better school district. I don't want to be in a problem steering her towards certain school districts, and just give her options of, different things. But how do I and I want her to first sign the agreement before I even start showing her homes and stuff like that. So what's the best way to do this?
Well, those are two different areas. Not that she can't look at those two areas at the same time. Both towns may have exactly what she's looking for, even though they are a little bit different from each other. So obviously Gloucester and Chatham, they're both great towns. If the product that she's looking for happens to be in those towns, that's great. What we want to dig deeper on is, what's important to them. And, you know, maybe she has family in Closter, maybe she has family in Chatham. Maybe her husband works in Florham Park, which is next to Chatham, and or maybe she works in Fort Lee. I don't know. You have to discover what's important about those locations and then dig a little bit deeper.
Right, that's why I want to do the buyer consultation with her. And
Yeah.
so first thing is like, after the buyer consultation, if she agrees for it, then the first thing is I should get an agreement signed and then start showing the homes, because she wants us to, or me to send her the list of homes. I don't want to do that, that I do all the homework and she goes with someone else and, or goes by herself and start, you know, looking at the homes or whatever. So
She can go online and find homes on her own. She doesn't need you for that. So you might as well send her the list anyway. You know, it's here's the best part about that. I don't say one way is right and one way is wrong. I say whatever's best for you.
Right.
You're going to, you know, I'm always going to highly recommend, you know, getting exclusive buyers agency signed. Yet when you do it and how you do it, and if you choose to do it, it's up to you. It's your own business. I'm not going to tell you what's right and what's wrong. I'm just going to say do whatever's best for you. If you need my help with anything, I'm always here. But if you want to do the exclusive buyers agency at the buyer consultation, that's great. And if you you want to do it after you show her some homes, that's fine too. If you don't want to do it at all, I'm okay with that too. It's just you can conduct your business the way you want to do it. I will always highly recommend doing it. Yet when you want to do it and how you want to do it, and if you want to do it, it's up to you. We're always asking ourselves though, what's a better way for me? Because my way may not, my best way may not be your best way, and so on and so forth. So,
yeah,
anyways,
I don't want to force her to, like, you know, become, or I become her agent. I want her to make a good decision for herself. Maybe after showing her a couple of homes, if she feels really comfortable and she says, you know, Parul, you are the one I'm going to go. So maybe that's the way to go, sign the agreement then. I don't know.
we cannot force anybody to do anything. I
Right.
can't force anybody to hire me. I can't force anybody to buy a house. I can't force anybody to sell a house. I can't force anybody to. Now, what we can do is influence.
Right.
I can't make decisions for other people. I can't choose for somebody else, but I can't influence them. How do we do that? With value. We communicate enough value, they'll want to work with us, and they won't want to work with anybody else. So that's what the buyer consultation again is a good tool for, right? We communicate value. We show them that not all agents are the same, that some are better than others, and they should be working with us because we're one of the better ones. So we want them leaving those meetings thinking, I want to work with this agent and nobody else.
Perfect. Thank you.
My pleasure. Let's get into it. So a very, very, very common buyer objection, it has to do with the offers. Now, let me ask it in the form of a question, and then you'll realize why this is such a common buyer objection. When is the first time your traditional agent presents the offer or the document, the New Jersey sales purchase agreement, for the first time to their clients? When does your traditional agent do it, you guys think?
At the offer.
Oh, you like this house enough to submit an offer on it? Great. Please sign this legal document you've never seen before in your life, please, right now. What's the objection that you get?
I have to read it before I sign it.
Yeah, and that is an objection. So we need to handle that objection. How do we handle those objections? Well, I'll give you a very good tip. There's a very good way to handle that objection. Even before, this is the tip, this is what I do, the majority of my team does it. As soon as I get off the phone with that consumer, prospect, buyer, whatever you want to call them, I hang up the phone, I'm going to my inbox, I'm composing an email. What's in that email? It's an intro email, a little bit about me with links to reviews, and at the very bottom, I'm attaching documents, I'm attaching a home buyer's guide, and what an offer looks like for them to review. So what's in the body of the email? Just, pleasure speaking with you. Looking forward to our meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Please find attached a complimentary home buyer's guide and a copy of an NJ residential purchase agreement for your review. Click, click. What have I just done? I've now provided them a copy of the what an offer looks like in their inbox. Okay, great. When they show up for the first meeting, the buyer consultation, what's laid out in front of them when they walk into the office? It's a folder. It's a branded folder with a hard copy of a home buyer's guide and a what an offer looks like. So now I've provided them a hard copy and a copy in their inbox. Now, what happens during that first meeting? We also discuss the document, the offer, right? I'm handling an objection. What happens is when we have this discussion, when we answer the questions, when we make them feel comfortable with this document, the time comes to sign, to submit the offer. It's sign, click, click, right? So how does that discussion go? It's 30 to 60 seconds, no more than that. Hey, did you have a chance to review the document that I sent you? Yes, great. Did you have any questions about it? No. Well, what I need you to know is that what we're really trying to communicate with this offer are three things: the sales price, the down payment, and the closing date. That's what we're looking to communicate to the other party, the seller. The rest is a lot of rules, regulations, and seller stuff to complete. And it's really just to get the ball rolling. You should feel very comfortable signing this document. Sounds good, great, wonderful. Any questions? No, that's it. It's just a simple, short conversation. If they have any future questions, they can always ask you at any point in time, well before they're actually submitting an offer. It doesn't have to be too complicated. Any thoughts on that? Sure. Any questions about an offer? Any issues with the offer that you guys had? What we're looking to avoid with this particular objection is what Scott said. What did Scott say? Scott said, let me look over it, right? Let my attorney look over it. Now, here's what we don't want happening. What happens to the home by the time they're done reviewing it?
You've already sold it, Ron.
It's done, gone, right? So we don't want that happening. We don't want it to be a missed opportunity or a very poor learning experience. We want to prepare them for the scenario. We want to submit those offers quickly, and we don't want the perfect one, the right one, to get away. And they're always thinking about that one, right? So, any questions about this particular objection before I move on to the next common objection? Awesome, cool. All right, why is this an objection? Can somebody please share with me why they think this is an objection? What makes this an objection? What's an objection about inspections, home inspections, inspection reports? Why is that an objection? What objection pops up that you all of a sudden you need to handle if you didn't address it in advance?
Why do we need one?
A home inspection? Yeah, we're always please always recommend to do a home inspection. I don't care if it's a new construction. I'm
saying that's an objection.
Yeah, so we're always, as real estate agents, it's our job to recommend it. If they choose to not end up doing one, that's fine, but make sure you make the recommendation. Doesn't matter if their father-in-law's a builder, and it doesn't matter if they're an engineer and they know everything about homes. I don't care. You're gonna recommend a home inspection, okay?
Even if after you're recommending them, they don't want to do it, how do you make them understand?
Always go back. So I'm gonna say this a few times. Always go back to the benefit. Always go back to the benefit. Hey, listen, for $550, $600, whatever it costs, we're paying a professional to inspect this house top to bottom, side to side, and give you all the information of what you're about to walk into to give you peace of mind. You see the benefit in that? Yeah, great. Any objection, it doesn't matter what it is, you're always going to go back to the benefit. So if you don't know what to say, just tell them state the benefit, and then give them a tie down at the end. Sounds good? Do you see the benefit in that? Do you see why that would give you a peace of mind? And then you get the yes, and they're great. You need any recommendations? Wonderful. Go from there. Now, it becomes an objection we need to handle if we don't handle it up front. I'll put it in a form of a question. Have you ever, hopefully you haven't, but have you ever, I have, had a buyer that receives the inspection report and then tells their attorney, please request seller to address everything on this report? Yeah, I've had it happen. Trust me, it's not fun. And what ends up happening is, one, it increases the likelihood this deal does not get to the closing table. It also increases the likelihood they get less. What do I mean by that? Well, in this type scenario, less is more and more is less. You see, if you really just minimize the list to the most concerning items or the most important items for the buyers and send it over, the sellers are likely to do more. And if you send them the whole list or a very long list, they get frustrated, they get upset, and they're likely to actually get it to say yes to less items. So in this case, less is more. Now, how do we handle the objection? How do we handle the objection? Well, it's just a very short conversation when we're discussing the buying process, and we get to the point where we discuss the inspection period. We're going to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, at this point in the buying process, we're going to hire a home inspector. They're going to do their home inspection. They're going to provide us a report. Once we get the report, you and me, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we're going to review that report together, and we're going to create a short list of items that are most important for you to request that the seller address. The seller will respond by saying, yes, I'll fix it. No, I won't fix it, but I'll provide your credit, or plain out, no, it is a negotiation by all means. There'll be a little bit of back and forth, but we will arrive at the ultimate goal that we're the outcome that we're looking for is you at the closing table. We're going to find the best way to get all your items of concern addressed, and we'll move forward. Sounds good? Great, wonderful. Now, by having that short, I don't know, 30-second discussion up front, it saves us a lot of trouble because now we're setting the expectation. Setting expectations is huge because if you allow somebody to just set their own expectations, then what happens is surprises. That's what, when I didn't review what happens when we receive the inspection report, then they're going to set their own expectations. They're gonna tell their attorney, I want this, and this addressed, and it's going to be a huge long list, and we'll get less for it. So handle the objection up front. That's why I consider this one of the major buyer objections in a transaction. Any questions, thoughts, opinions, issues, complaints, jokes, funny stories about inspections you guys want to share?
Ron, when me and my wife sold our house in Bergenfield,
Uh-huh.
house was built in like 1904, and the sellers wanted us to remedy all the lead paint in the entire house. I'm talking trim, walls everywhere, and we're like, no, there's no way.
Yeah, so it's the tip also for you guys. Once it gets painted over, it's fine. Most homes originally, the original layer, especially from 1904 house, yeah, the original paint was lead paint. Yet when you paint it over, and you have layer and layer and layer on top of it, then that's when it's okay. Now, the biggest issue that the inspectors have communicated to me is with the original windows. Now, why do the original windows make it an issue? Because either they still have the lead paint on them, or when you're opening and closing them, it chips at all the layers, all the previous paint layers. So if you replace the windows and you've painted the house, you're usually okay. You know, the inspectors themselves will tell you you're wasting your money on the lead paint, but that's for the customer. I've rarely had a client know. You know, the inspectors will offer it up. You know, they offer a lot of different tests, but on a rare occasion, you know, maybe 2 buyers have ever done it. One of them even came back positive, but they didn't do anything about it. So it was just on one bay window. So if you're buying a house in Bergen County, it is what it is, right? The original layers were likely lead paint because these homes were built up from the 1920s all the way through the 1960s in most of Bergen County. Anyway, so that's a little bit of insight on that. That's kind of a way to handle it when the clients kind of ask you about lead paint. And the inspectors, they'll communicate the same information if they ask them. And if you don't know exactly what to say, always kind of take that monkey off your back and refer it and just say, you know, I'm not sure, but we'll ask the home inspector at the home inspection. Sounds good? And then they say, yeah, sure. And same thing with loans, by the way, and lenders. If there's a question about an interest rate lock, or there's a question about closing costs, or there's a question about the preliminary CD, those things, you know, those things will drive you nuts. So if you don't know an answer to something, just kind of, again, take that monkey off your back and say, you know what, I'm not sure, but for clarity's sake, let's ask the lender. Does that sound like a good idea? Yeah, great, wonderful. So just another tip for you guys. All right. Let's do this. Let's go next. Attorney. Okay, this is a fun one. Why do I consider the attorney selection an objection? What makes this an objection in the buying process? Well, you see it on the slide. There are different types of attorneys, and some attorneys are deal makers, and some are deal breakers, and some are fault finders, and some are solution finders, and some know the market conditions, are very responsive, know what's going on, know you need to get out of attorney quickly, and then some they're kind of like, I know what's best. I know what's best for the buyer, even without consulting with them, and they start making decisions and doing things without even telling them. And those are the ones with the egos, right? So, and they don't CC you on the emails. All fun. So there's different types of attorneys. Now, if you want to improve your conversion to not get kicked out of attorney review, and you want to improve your conversion to get through inspections, and you want to improve your conversion to get to the closing table, this is, by all means, this is an objection. Why is this an objection? So we can handle this objection very, very easily. How do we handle that objection very easily? It's a simple question. Simple question. Does anybody know what that question is? What do we ask the buyers?
Do you have a real estate attorney?
Yeah, do you know who you're going to be working with? That's it. And then they'll be like, generally, what do they say? They'll say no. I say, great. You know, I have a very strong recommendations. They'll all take very, very good care of you. They all charge flat rates. They all do real estate day in and day out. They're all very responsive. Would it be helpful if I sent that list over to you? Yeah, great. They always say yes, by the way, because, you know, the way that we're asking the question, the way that we formulate the question, communicate, convey the question, it's going to obtain compliance. It's going to obtain a yes. And that's where it increases likely they work with us. Now, I've been there. Many agents are there. The market conditions are it's a very, very strong seller's market with multiple offers. There was 12 offers on the table. You just won. Your buyers have not selected an attorney yet. They don't know who they're working with. These are very detail-oriented type personalities. They want to speak to the attorneys, maybe even meet with the attorneys. It's now 2 days later. There's no rider that's being sent out. What's the listing agent and the seller communicating back to you? How do they feel? What happens? Surprise! We're going to the backup. You're dragging your feet. You're not serious. It sucks. You don't want to be, you know, working so, you know, so hard to obtain in a multiple offer situation in this market to begin with, only to lose it because they didn't select their attorney in advance, and they're dragging their feet, and no rider was sent out, and they went to the backup offer, and you got kicked out of attorney review, or another higher offer came in, right? So have them do the footwork in advance. Don't you know, don't waste time by waiting last minute for them to select an attorney. This is a big one. This will cause you some heartache. This one will basically give you a reason to start from scratch, and we don't want that, right? We don't want to work so hard only to start from scratch. Even though I don't like to use that, I always say start from experience. Yeah, go ahead.
So do you work with it, or do you call the attorney as soon as you have a buyer so that you already are working towards it? Or do you generally, even if you don't have buyers just right now, as a new agent, just call those attorneys and start talking to them and see, you know, which one works with you?
But we did over 300 transactions last year, so we use a lot of attorneys. No one attorney can do the caseload.
Mhm.
So I have half a dozen attorneys that I recommend business to, and they're all going to take really, really good care of my clients. And I have their cell phone numbers, and they're all going to be very responsive. And they better they better take a really good care of the clients, because or else we're not referring business to them. They're, you know, the vendors that we recommend they reflect on us. So if they do a poor job of taking care of our clients, you know, it comes back to us, and, you know, we don't want to make some bad recommendations. So the ones that we're referencing, the one that we're recommending, they know they're going to take good care of the clients, or they might get less business moving forward. And they're going to want to be responsive and get us out of attorney review quickly, or they might get less business moving forward. And they might not want to change their fees in the middle of the transaction if they want to get more business moving forward, and so on and so forth, right? So and it doesn't matter if it's the attorney or the lender, or you know, a handyman, electrician, a plumber, a roofer. We want our vendors to take care of our clients. You know, be professional. You know, obviously the pricing is important, and a very good level of customer service.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, so just have it in your back pocket where you can recommend a good vendor in 2 seconds flat. Just have it in your phone. Have a picture of their business card, or have it somewhere where you can copy paste it very quickly. You know, so if you have 3 attorneys, with you know, I do this all the time. I have so my top 3 attorneys, I'll have all their information laid out, and I'll just copy paste it, and I can text it. In 5 seconds, they'll have it on their cell phone. They can reach out to them, and they're all very reachable.
Thank you.
It's important. So do you guys see why this is an objection? And we don't want to have to be handling this, you know, last minute. If you're scrambling to help them find an attorney, they also might choose not the best attorney. I'll say it politely, right? They might choose somebody that you know, is going to be very slow response time. Somebody that's not going to get them out of attorney review quickly. Yeah, I don't know what just happened, but we're back. Anyways, let me pull up the. Do I even need to? No, I don't need to. Stop sharing. So, talk to me. What do you guys think about that? About those ones for now? We'll get into more. We have time. We have a good 25 minutes left, so I got a few more I can cover with you. But what do you think of those so far? Let me get the chat.
I like what you said about setting expectations from the beginning. I think that that's being I like to be proactive, not reactive. I've lived by that motto for a very long time.
Yeah, and your ability to prepare a client, a buyer, seller, doesn't matter what it is, will dictate how successful you are too. I always like to say the words that are not used enough, or basically it's very simple. This is what happens next. If you end every conversation with a client with those words, this is what happens next, you're going to be better for it. It's going to benefit you in a great way. Why? Because you're setting the expectation. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we're going to go out and look at homes. This is, you know, this is what happens next. Mr. Buyer, you like this home and have to submit an offer on it. This is what happens next. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I just sent you the documents for signatures. This is what happens next. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we set an accepted offer. This is what happens next. You're always setting the expectation every step of the way, because what you'll find is you can repeat the whole buying process to them during the buyer consultation or at any other point in time. They're not going to remember everything. They're going to retain a very small percentage of the conversation. So we always have to tell them what happens next. So just by using those, you know, few words with at the end of every conversation, it will benefit you, because you're just setting the expectation over and over again. So hopefully you guys find that as a valuable tip and actually implement it. It will go a long way. All right. What else?
I noticed the attorneys, you said you should give it to them, I guess, as soon as possible.
Yeah, the earlier the better, because who knows? Maybe your first outing, they find a house they like. They want to submit an offer on it. If they get an accepted offer on it, you don't want them scrambling. So if they're good to go on the attorney end, they have their selection, and actually it strengthens our communication a little bit better, Because if you're the listing agent and I'm inputting in the email my buyer attorney info, that means I'm good to go. Like select our offer, like let's get this done. It's a little bit more serious compared to not having it. So if you have it in the body of an email, it helps out too. You know, when you're sending the offer and all the other documents. And there are templates, you know, right now with all the multiple offers, you want to be as clear as possible. So you should have an email template for when submitting offers, you know, for what the sales price, the down payment, you know, who your lender is, closing date, attorney info. So everything's just laid out for the listing agent and it's easy to read. All
How
right.
often would you follow up to make sure that they've got the attorney?
Well, you want to confirm receipt. The buyers, you know, generally I'll give them the list and they go to work. They'll say, I spoke to this person, spoke to that person. It maybe takes no more than a day, 2 days, 3 days. It doesn't take more than that. You know, even for the C types, for the, you know, for the very detail oriented one that want to speak to the attorney, fine, they'll get them on the phone within a day or two. If need be, the attorneys give me permission to give their cell phones out, they can talk to them right away. So it's definitely something that you want to handle up front. Some other out of curiosity, yeah, go ahead, Scott.
That's your question. So when you're submitting an offer, you're doing the whole you're writing the contract out, all that information in the contract, emailing it over as an attachment. You also summarize the contract or the offer
I do.
on the email? Okay.
I do it over the phone. I do it text. I do it email. You communicate the heck out of it just so you know that they're understanding what your offer is. You don't want to miss anything. You know, you could lose a deal. I'm not even kidding. You could not get picked because you didn't accommodate the seller's closing date. Like it could be something small. It doesn't have to be even something major. So we want to be clear. You know, we're flex. The seller can choose the closing date. You know, buyer to purchase an as-is condition with the exception of environmental, structural, mechanical items. You know, if you're waiving the appraisal, you want everything laid out, and just know that you know, they're understanding what your offer actually is. So put it in the best light. Some agents, it's a small thing. You can also, some agents prefer one PDF for all the documents, and some agents like it several documents so they can see it. You know, you have to also kind of discover sometimes how the listing agent likes to be communicated. Sometimes the listing agents might have a co-listing agent. Make sure you're CCing them as well. Sometimes they have an admin. Make sure you're CCing them as well. If it's not posted online, ask them, is there an admin that you have? Do you want to be CC'd to? So all these small stuff, it goes a long way. Out of curiosity, I was going to ask you guys the question. What are some common objections you guys are getting from buyers? Talk to me. Are you working with buyers?
So far, I'm still trying to get buyers.
Okay, and that's fine.
I think one of the hard parts is just getting them to understand the market. Like I had a couple who just didn't understand that they couldn't lowball everybody and they just wanted to offer below asking price, and they kept not getting that contract because, and then I had the conversation several times with them, which I failed to do at the beginning when I sat with them the first time. And then I started listening to some of the things that you and some of the other seasoned agents do. And then I sat with them, but it's still at that point, I think I already missed the first opportunity to say to them, hey, this is how the market is. And this is what you should expect. So they kept lowballing everything until they just gave up.
Yeah, and you should send them a thank you note to those buyers because they made you a better agent. They do. You know, sometimes we look at these experiences and they say, oh, it's so frustrating. You know, it didn't work out and offer. You know what? At the end of the day, if you look back, they made you better. They made us better agents from the experience. And now the next time we walk into the same scenario, we're better for it. So unfortunately, that is the best way to improve, to grow, is with those frustrating experiences. But I call them frustrating experiences, and I never say failure, because we reflect back and we learn from it. It helps us grow. So that's why I say you should send them a thank you note. Now, if we're looking to improve our conversion, with those type scenarios, yes, preparing them for what the market conditions are will definitely, benefit us. It'll, now, this is the caveat. Okay, I'm going to put an asterisk next to this one. For there will be buyers just like those that you can explain to them the market conditions until your face turns blue, and they will still want to submit lower offers. Now, those particular buyers, you have to be okay with them learning the hard way, is what I call it. What's learning the hard way? You know what? There was 12 offers and you were the lowest. You know what? There was 8 offers and you weren't even close. You weren't even in the top 20. You know what? There was you report back to them as to what's going on, what the results are, and it increases their awareness level. So at some point, common sense is going to hit them, and they're going to start listening to you. You know what? Maybe next time we should listen to you. So when you report back the results, then it does help out, and you have to be okay with some buyers. They come from different cultures, different ways to negotiate. They don't like the craziness. You may want to also change your strategy with those buyers. That's another option, by the way. There are always, even in today's market, 2 types of products. What are those 2 types of products? This is a good way to communicate it to your buyers too. So, Mr. and Ms. Buyer, there are 2 types of products in this market. One, which is 90% of your product. It's your overpriced, sit on the market, going to get plenty of showings, not going to get any offers type product. And the other 10% are the underpriced, priced correctly, here today, multiple offers, gone tomorrow type of product. And we're just not willing to compete with this one. What do you think about the strategy about going after these? This one, the 19 homes that nobody wants, the 8 homes that nobody wants because it's overpriced. And how about when we walk into those homes, I ask you not to look at that price. I will tell you for every single house, not what you're willing to pay, what another buyer is willing to pay, which is what the market value is, where if it was priced at that price, it would sell immediately. Would that be helpful to you? So you're communicating a strategy to them saying, okay, you know what, we're not going to get mixed up in the craziness. Let's just go to to this particular product. Now, us as agents, we have to have the ability to identify which is which, of course. Now, there's an easy way to do it, whether you know the town or the product or not. What is it?
Days on market.
Days on market. DOM. There you go. And this is the simple way to also communicate. It's also a great tip when we want to communicate strategy to a buyer. I simply just say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you know what? If it's been on the market for more than 2 weeks, it's overpriced. How much overpriced? It depends on the property. I'll fill you in. That's it. It's a simple way to communicate that this is this type of product and that's that type of product. Now, does that mean that it's been sitting 30 days on market? It's not going to get an offers? It still might get offers. If you go to the 90-day, 180-day ones, they tend to not have offers. Yet there's surprises all the time where properties have been sitting 100 days on the market. Just exactly at the time that you want to submit an offer, of course they get 3 more offers all of a sudden, right? It happens. But you can communicate strategy to your buyers depending on what their thinking is. Now, if they're willing to compete, you have the strength of offer discussions. You communicate the value that you can provide in those types of situations, with those scenarios. And that's a whole different conversation that'll take us. We're going to talk about that moving forward for a whole hour. How to improve our conversion with multiple offers. There's different ways. That's not necessarily the topic I want to talk about today. Not that we can't talk about it, but
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you trust that if the listing agent says that there's more than one offer, how do you know that they're telling the truth and not just want to drive up the price?
Well, in reality, it's very likely, considering the market conditions. Now, if they have an offer, just so you know, as agents, if we ask the question, do you have any offers? They need to tell us if they have offers. An agent can't say, no, we don't have any offers when they have an offer. So they need to tell you that they have offers. Now, how agents approach, I'm just going to try to say this, I guess, politically correct as possible, how agents approach these type of situations, it's all a little bit different, right? So if somebody says, yeah, I have well above asking, it's kind of ambiguous, right? Well above asking can be $1,000 and well above asking can be $100,000. It's pretty ambiguous, so it's their job. You have to understand the listing agent's job from my perspective, is to get top dollar for their sellers.
Okay.
That's the listing agent's job. And if they're doing that job, they're doing a great job, because that is their top priority. Now, us as buyers agents, we need to be skilled negotiators. Those conversations are part of that skill, right? How do we discover information for our buyers to promote their best interests and negotiate on their behalf? So relationship does go a long way. Even as new agents, you can develop relationships. If you have rapport with a listing agent and they're providing you information, then you look like a rock star when you go back to your buyers. You say, hey, listen, there's 5 offers on the table. Right now, the highest offer is 520,000. With 20% down. A lot of agents, if you let them talk, they'll just keep talking. And some agents won't give you any information. It depends on the personality on the other side, right? All agents are different personalities. I would advise you and encourage you to ask the questions. The majority of buyer's agents are just not picking up the phone and not asking questions. So if you are one of those rare breeds that actually does and asks questions, you are definitely promoting your buyer's interest more so than your traditional agent. Just ask the question, even when is the seller's preferred closing date, and how many offers do you have? And do you have any offers above 500? Whatever what's important to seller other than price. You ask some simple questions, you'll get answers, but if you don't ask the question, you'll never get the answer. So promote your buyer's best interest and make that phone call. I'm not really sure why agents don't make those phone calls, but they really don't. I mean, I'll give you guys a few examples. In Hasbrook Heights, we had 36 offers, and in Inglewood we had 34 offers. No, I'm reversing it. It doesn't matter. There's like only 2 or 3 agents called to obtain information out of all those offers. It doesn't make sense. Like, you're just clicking, you're sending the offer, and you're not checking in. You're not asking any questions. Is that really promoting your buyer's best interest as a buyer's agent? It's not. They're just sending. They're just clicking send, and that's it. So if you want to be a better agent than most, you just have to do one simple thing: pick up the phone, ask some questions. It's a great tip, trust me. If you actually put it into action, it'll go a long way with you and your buyers. What else we got? What's some other objections you guys get or you want to talk about? We got 10 minutes.
Okay, Ron. I have a married couple, and the wife wants to move, and they're renting a house in Closter. They're paying like $5,000 a month in rent. The husband wants to move back to Jersey City or New York City and be in a condo or rental situation where he doesn't have to worry about anything with the house. So I've been back and forth with them a lot. It's just he's not budging on anything. So I'm wondering what are some techniques I could get through to somebody like that? Because the wife's on my side 100%. He doesn't want to hear about it.
He doesn't want to move?
Well, he wants to move.
Is that what I'm getting?
He doesn't want to buy a house. So they're just.
Okay, so he wants to rent in Jersey City, and she wants to buy a house?
Yeah, she wants to buy a house in Bergen County, Closter, Demarest, Emerson. But he does.
Well, it sounds like he's the decision maker, right? Yeah. She may want, but it sounds like he's the decision maker in the relationship. There's always one that's kind of like the boss, right? They're the final say, and you have to kind of figure out who that is, and then accommodate their wants and needs more so. And in this case, it's just a simple question: what's preventing him from buying?
You know what it is? I put together a spreadsheet for him with commute times from different towns, from the train, from the bus, and I think it's been helping a bit. And I think if I keep pushing that, maybe that'll get through to him. His concern, his commute to New York City. He works in Long Island City, actually, so he has to go to New York and then take a train to LIC. So, I mean.
Okay, commute times from Jersey City and the city are definitely better than Closter. That's for sure. So if he's commuting, unless he's driving, it's a different story. But if he's a commuter and getting on the bus, it's a no-brainer. It's going to take a much shorter. So still, the question is, what's preventing him from making the move?
I think he doesn't want to deal with the responsibilities of having owning a home, like yard work, hiring things like people to shovel the snow, and dealing with a boiler that may be broke or things like that. It's just he doesn't want to
Well,
do
in Jersey City or the city, he doesn't have to.
it. Yeah,
They're likely going to be condos, right? It's not going to be a single family home necessarily.
yeah,
So he doesn't have to do any of that stuff anyway. So again, what's preventing him from buying a home if he doesn't have to do that stuff? You always have to dig deeper. Keep asking the question. Well, okay, well, what else? And what else? And what else? And you just keep digging, and you'll discover exactly, what's stopping him. Sometimes you're just gonna ask the question, what's stopping you, or what's preventing you, and then let them answer. Just be quiet. It's an open-ended question. It's not a yes, yes, no, no question. And then if you whatever concern they have, you covered it, and you handled the objection, we'll call it. What else? And then if you narrow it down to the one concern or slash objection, okay, and except for this, is there anything else that'll stop you from buying a home? And he's like, no, just this one item. You got it. That's the one thing. If you address it, you can influence the move. Sometimes it's just figuring out what the story is. What else we got? There is a common one, by the way, that I keep getting is on our list side. I just want to work with the listing agent. It's a pretty common one right now. Why is it a common one right now? Even if they're working with another agent?
Because their offer is more likely, they think their offer is more likely to get accepted if they're working with the listing agent.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I mean, plenty of times where the listing agents, people approach us directly and they don't win. They're just not willing to compete. It's getting crazy a lot of times. If you go to the listing agent, doesn't mean you're getting the house. Nobody's, especially if the listing agent's promoting the seller's best interest, which we do, by the way, even if it's on our own listings. Sometimes they're just not the strongest offers. Doesn't mean you're getting the property because you're going direct to a listing agent. So the listing agent is going to promote the seller's best interest. They're going to get them not just top dollar. They're going to obtain the strongest offer for them. And if you're not it, next. So it doesn't always mean they're going to get the half. Now, the reasoning behind it, they're switching agents, or going direct to listing agent. We have to kind of get at the reasoning, and then we have to handle the objection. So they're just losing. They're frustrated. They need a roof over there. Their sense of urgency is through the roof, basically. They need a place. Their lease is expiring at the end of April, the end of March, and they're not renewing it. And they're going to be on the street. They're going to be homeless, and they need a place. They're living in their in-laws. They're living in a hotel. They need a roof over their head, and they don't care about advantages or disadvantages of what the agent can provide. They're going to find a place some way, somehow. And their idea or their strategy, we'll call it, to go direct to a listing agent seems like a reasonable one, right? Kind of a sensible one. So how do we handle the objection? Somebody calls us. It's not our listing. Somebody wants to work with us. They said if you're not the listing agent, I don't want to work with you. How do we handle the objection? It's actually a very difficult objection to handle in today's market. Go ahead.
Something like, it's not that you are who's going to pay me. It's the seller who's going to pay. So you don't have to worry about, maybe that's the way. And, we'll be negotiating for you, not the listing agent. Listing agent, even if they say that they'll work for you too, but essentially they're working for the seller, and they will always want that price, what the seller is wanting. So is that the way to deal? I mean, we have to make them clear that they're not paying us.
Yeah, and I'm just going to touch on this and go back to the objection. Consumers, by the way, you would think that they know how things work, but they don't know how it works. They don't know that it doesn't cost them anything to be represented by a buyer's agent. It happens over and over and over again that they say, do I need to pay anything? They don't know. We need to educate them with the buying process and how that works, right? So let's go back to the objection for a second. So yeah, you can handle the objection that way if it works. I would say that, the majority of the time that still won't be strong enough of an objection to handle it to work. What else could you say? Yeah, it's a difficult one. So I can share with you that it comes with value, and the consumer, on some level, thinks that all real estate agents are the same, and it's our job to change the perception. So how do we do that, and how do we increase likely they work with us and nobody else? Well, we need to have objection handlers in our back pocket, and a good one is to agree with them and then share with them how it actually works. And a good script for it it basically sounds something like this. Yeah, and I understand why on the surface that may seem like a good strategy, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, but in reality, it doesn't benefit you. Can I explain? And they'll be like, yeah, sure. They always say yes. And then you transition into the story, and I tell them the story. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, there's two types of product in the market. There's the overpriced and the price correctly one. Do you happen to know which one you're walking into at any point in time? And they'll be like, no. Well, you see, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I do. Every house we walk into, I'm going to tell you what another buyer is willing to pay. Would that be helpful to you? Yes, great. And do you see why not all agents are the same and some are better than others? Yeah, but we still want to go to the listing agent. Okay, and that's fine. You can definitely choose to go to the listing agent, but it doesn't benefit you in different ways. Can I share with you different ways that it doesn't benefit? And they'll be like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then be like, well, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you see, you can say your office, our team, I would say my team, our team sells more real estate than anybody else in the entire MLS. And it provides you advantages. And some of the advantages it provides you is that not only are you working with an expert buyer's agent, but when somebody's looking to sell, who do you think they're calling? Somebody who doesn't sell anything or somebody who sells the most? Well, somebody who sells the most, right? So would it be helpful to you if I called your attention to anything that's before it hit the market, before anybody else knows about it? Would that be helpful to you? And they'll be like, yeah, sure. That's the best hook, by the way, the coming soons in today's market. And everybody here can communicate coming soons. We'll talk about that in a second. And so, yeah, great. So do you see the benefit of working with us over your traditional agent? And they'll be like, yeah, sure, great. So let's do this. Why don't we, when works best, weekends or weekdays? They'll say weekends, great. I'd love to show you these 3 homes based on what you told me, what you're looking for. I think this is the best top product for you. We'll go see all 3 of them in one shot. I'll see you Saturday at 10 o'clock. Click, send the email, go to the appointment. So let's talk about coming soons, right? First of all, let's not talk about coming soons. We got 3 minutes left, but let's just kind of summarize that for a second. You're communicating your value proposition. That's how you convert them. That's how you convert those leads. Now, if you don't have the objection handlers, which include your value propositions, you're less likely to convert them during those conversations. So that's what I need you to notice in these type of scripts, is that we're still communicating value. We're obtaining compliance, and it increases likelihood they work with us. Are you going to convert every single one? Absolutely not. Some people are just headstrong and they're going to do what they want to do, which is fine. You can't win them all. Right now, coming soon, I'm just going to touch on this before we end the call. As newer agents, some coming soons can be, or off markets, because it could be an off market. For sale by owner, is that an off market? Yeah, it's an off market. They might not even be advertising on Zillow or online websites. And what about expireds? If you know about them, you know that they're still showing. Yeah, those are coming soons. And what about, obviously, you might have information on listings of your own. Yet you do work in a company that does have, I think it's over 1,600 agents at this point, probably way more than that. I think it's actually more than that now, that are usually the top agents in any particular town. And it doesn't matter if you go to Mahwah, or if you go to I don't know, Emerson, or you go to Oradell, or you go to Midland Park, or it doesn't matter what town you choose. In Bergen County, a lot of the agents are the top agents, and they have a lot of market share. So what that means is you can utilize that. You can say, hey, listen, you got anything coming soon? I see it all the time on the platforms. I actually see agents reaching out. I have a buyer. Does anybody have 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 600,000 in Ridgewood? And you'll get some responses every now and then, or somebody will call you privately or text you privately because they don't want to announce it to the world. So it's, you do have some tools at your disposal to provide value, to go above and beyond your traditional agent, right? So we got like 1 minute left. Any last comments, thoughts, opinions?
A quick one. I had a buyer who, didn't go with the traditional agent because whatever the reason was, and then they went to the flat fee agent through Redfin, and they said we're already so educated
Oh
and
boy.
we did it all by ourselves. I thought we don't need agent anymore. So, and the listing agents are more happy that we have a flat fee agent and we don't want to work with the traditional
Yeah.
agent.
Do you know why they're happy? Perul. Do you know why I'm happy when I see the Redfin? Because we can squeeze them so bad.
Yep.
So what? So they're going for a discount agent that's representing them. Yet in reality, I'm telling you, we do more listings than anybody in the entire county. They're overpaying more than your regular buyers. They
Yep.
are, because their agents don't know anything.
Yeah.
These Redfin agents, I'm telling you, they're the easiest to squeeze.
I was like shocked. I'm like,
Okay, so in essence, they think, oh, I'm getting a rebate. I don't care what your rebate is. You're paying, you could pay tens of thousands of dollars more than you need to because of the agent that you chose. If you're going against a bulldog and they're going to squeeze top dollar out of you and your buyer's agent, you want to choose your representation wisely, and you definitely want somebody that's a very good negotiator and has relationships with agents and all that fun stuff. If you really don't want to overpay, because the number one concern of a buyer is overpaying. It always was and it always will be when buying a home. Pinch them where it hurts. You can choose to work with whoever you want, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. I just need you to know that not all agents are created equal. Of course, it's not costing you anything to choose your representation, and there are some agents that will even provide you a rebate, yet ultimately you're going to be overpaying because they have zero or very low level of negotiation skills. So do you want to overpay? Because I don't want you to overpay. Do you want to overpay? And they'll be like, no. Well, so you always go back, pinch them where it hurts, first of all, and then always go back to the benefit.
yeah, that's what I told. I mean, they already bought it. So, but I told them, I did the research on, Redfin versus the traditional agent, and I told them the bullet points, and they were like, wow, we didn't know all that. I'm like, of course, because
The most powerful thing that you can communicate to a buyer is a story. Okay. Now, you keep that example in your back pocket and you use it as a because we can handle objections, we can communicate value proposition, and the most powerful thing that we can do, people love stories. If you tell them, give them examples. So there's a property, 123 Main Street in Demarest. I had a buyer. They chose to have a Redfin agent represent them. When it closed and I saw what it sold for, I knew that they could have gotten it for $40,000 less. Is that who you want representing you? Or do you want a strong agent that's going to know what you need to be paying, negotiate on your behalf, promote your best interest, or do you want to overpay? So the stories are really, really strong to improve conversion. So keep them, hold on to them, write them down, and you can use it as an example to help improve your conversion in the future.
Yeah, people love examples, and you can emotionally try to understand. In fact, even if you're working with someone, you should keep on telling them these stories so they don't suddenly say that, oh, we're done with you, we want to go with a flat fee agent. So in between, you should keep on telling them these kind of stories. Perfect. Thank you.
Even in today's market, I'm going to take it to the flip side. Just because on the listing side, I know this is a buyer topic, but it's the same thing. I look at homes all the time. Anybody can sell a home in today's market. The question is, can they sell it for top dollar? And I see some of these homes selling, and I was like, man, we could have squeezed $50,000 more out of that. We could have squeezed $30,000 more. We could have squeezed $100,000 more out of it. They completely undersold that house, right? So I'll see it all the time. In today's market, yes, you can sell it on your own, but you can't necessarily sell it for top dollar because you don't negotiate day in and day out like we do. Nobody can BS us, unlike you. We know how to squeeze it. So that's why they're hiring you, because you're a master negotiator. You do this day in and day out. That is a value proposition, right? So you have to have the ability to communicate that on the listing end as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. So we are in overtime. We're 4 minutes over. I do want to thank you guys for being here. You guys are always great. And, you know, the participation was wonderful. And I'm looking forward to next week. Next week, it's just going to be a mastermind. I'm going to put a list of all kinds of topics, interesting topics for us to discuss. You're going to pick whatever topic you want, and we're going to go at it. We're going to talk about those particular subject matter. So if you have topics that you kind of want to discuss, that'll benefit you, that'll be of value to you, think about that between now and next week. That's exactly, we're going to do a mastermind next week for a full hour. All right, guys?
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks,
All right,
Ryan.
thanks for
Ron.
being here, guys.
Thank
you.
My
you.
pleasure. Have a great one.
Thank
Very
you.
soon.